Good evening, beautiful souls and brilliant minds. Welcome to another captivating episode of the Know Your Pharmacist Livestream. I'm your host, Dr. Joaquin Acosta, CEO of Pharmtrue, and your go-to expert for all things wellness. Tonight, we're not just connecting, we are collaborating on a journey to elevate our understanding of knowledge, technology, and human spirit. So grab your favorite cup of tea or coffee, no judgments here, and let's dive in, guys. Okay, first up, Pharmacist Frontline segment, we are going to be discussing the opioid crisis. It's going to be a little bit of touching on that in multiple places today, offering both expert science and compassionate solutions. This segment is lovingly sponsored by Pharmtrue, where we empower wellness through pharmacist-formulated solutions. Then, in Tech Talk, we'll brainstorm the pros and cons of air purifiers versus vaporizers versus humidifiers, the whole 9 yards, all right? Get ready for a productive discussion that'll clear the air, literally. Our Enlightenment Hour will be a cozy chat about the health benefits of tea. Trust me, it's going to be both interesting and heartwarming. In our Herbal Wellness Corner today, we're going to explore the role of cannabis in opioid harm reduction. This segment is brought to you by High Horse Cannabis Company, who are writing history, not just reading it. Our community spotlight will shine on the upcoming Buck Cancer Gala. Again, QR code above for tickets. It's an event that you don't want to miss. Interactive dinner play, 1920 themed, Al Capone, who done it. It's going to be fun. Big thanks to the Trichome Alliance for sponsoring this segment and the gala itself. And last but not least, our Men's Health Minute will focus on prostate health, revving up your weekends with thrilling insights. This segment is sponsored by Vado Speedway Park, where excitement meets expertise. So, are you ready to be captivated, educated, and inspired? Let's make this the best one yet, guys. Jumping right on into this, the opioid crisis. So, this is coming from an editorial of CNN Health, published August 17, 2023. I just like the, culmination of their timeline of events here when it comes to the opioid crisis. I'm going to share this with you guys on the screen so we can look at this a little bit together. Okay, so looking at this, again, let's get all this out of here. Advertisements. So, opioids, addictive painkillers, interesting look at the opioid crisis. Estimated 9.2 million Americans aged 12 and older misused opioids in 2021, including 8.7 million prescription pain reliever abusers and 1.1 million heroin users. Again, some significant stats on here that I think are worth sharing and talking about. Nearly 110,000 people died of drug overdoses in 2022, and more than 2/3 of those deaths involved a synthetic opioid. Okay, where are we at? Fentanyl, problem, right? Something that just happened here in the state of New Mexico, the emergency declaration of the combined opioid crisis and gun epidemic. And right, that is definitely an incredibly controversial bill that, and enforcement from Governor Grisham here in the state of New Mexico right now. But the implications of the one side there that I do want to talk about are the opioid side and the crisis, so on and so forth. And where you look at that, guys, I mean, we've got, again, opioid deaths that have been concurring ever since, and things have not necessarily gotten better because we've gotten into stronger substances such as, synthetic fentanyl produced God knows where, distributed God knows how. But take a look at this timeline. I think it's very interesting here, just how opioids played their role in history. 1861 through 1865. During the Civil War, medics used morphine as a battlefield anesthetic. Many soldiers become dependent on the drug. 1898, heroin first produced commercially by the Bayer Company at that time. Heroin is believed to be less habit-forming than morphine, so it is dispensed to individuals who are addicted to morphine. 1914, Congress passes the Harrison Narcotics Act, which requires doctor to write prescriptions in cocaine. Importers, manufacturers, and distributors of narcotics must register with the Treasury Department and pay tax on products. 1924, the Anti-Heroin Act bans the production and sale of heroin in the United States. 1970, the Controlled Substance Act becomes law. It creates groupings or schedules of drugs based on the potential for abuse. Heroin is a Schedule I drug, while morphine, fentanyl, oxycodone, Percocet, methadone, Schedule II, hydrocodone, Vicodin, originally Schedule III, later recategorized to Schedule II. January 1980, a letter titled Addiction Rare in Patients Treated with Narcotics, published in a New England Journal of Medicine. Looks at incidences of painkiller addiction in a very specific population of hospitalized patients who were closely monitored. Becomes widely cited in the 1980s as proof that narcotics are a safe treatment for chronic pain. Boom, 15 years later. Full send. 1995, OxyContin, a long-acting version of oxycodone that slowly releases the drug over 12 hours, is introduced and aggressively marketed as a safer pain pill by manufacturer Purdue Pharma. May 10th, 2007, Purdue Pharma pleads guilty for misleadingly advertising OxyContin as safer and less addictive than other opioids. Misleading. The company and 3 executives charged with misleading and defrauding physicians and consumers, paying out $634.5 million in criminal and civil fines. 2010, FDA approves an abuse deterrent formulation of OxyContin to help curb the abuse. However, people still find ways to abuse it. 2015, DEA announces it has arrested 280 people, including 22 doctors and pharmacists, after a 15-month sting operation centered on healthcare providers who dispensed a large amount of the opioids. Operation Pill Looted, largest prescription drug bust in the history of the DEA. March 18, 2016, moving on. CDC publishing guidelines for prescribing opioids for patients with chronic pain. Recommendation including prescribing over-the-counter pain relievers like aspirin, acetaminophen in lieu of opioids. Doctors are encouraged to promote exercise, behavioral treatments to help patients cope with pain. Again, I'm in the pharmacy industry at this point, can recall, right, what's happening. All of a sudden, we are getting to enforce the CDC clinical guidelines for pain. And here in New Mexico, they actually show you the morphine equivalents that whatever opioid it may be, which all have different potencies, have to be at a certain, number for chronic pain, for acute pain. So at least they had thresholds and guidelines for us, as pharmacists, doctors, nurses, the whole team to collaborate under. And now all of a sudden, in that time in 2016, so I was working in a Walmart pharmacy in Albuquerque, and we were literally all of a sudden going through all the profiles, auditing, chronic pain thresholds and guidelines. So, state law was different from Walmart corporate, rules. And at that point, we were gutting profiles for opioids, and, it was well and done, but we went through it and guys, this is in inner city Albuquerque. We went through it just like all of a sudden telling patients, we cannot feel this, professional judgment, we got to get this changed, got to get these opioid numbers down, your MMEs, and start educating and talking about that. And interestingly enough, right, it gets you to the point of, wow, we are dealing with this and people are frustrated, and it's crazy to feel like the enemy and you're trying to hide behind, the corporate lines of whatever script that they're making you say. So that's an interesting situation, right? All of a sudden, and, New Mexico really had to go and take that time to try to, get things reappropriated. The pharmacy systems started getting better after that point. Checking, for instance, the New Mexico prescription monitoring program, it it didn't give you as much data as it does today, such as morphine equivalents for the medications and having it all added up for you there. So Walmart, for instance, they integrated their system with the New Mexico PMP. Other systems do integrate as well, right? I worked for CVS. They had their own version of it, and at least it kept pharmacists accountable and on the quicker side of having to log into a different system, especially if, for instance, corporate only has, you can't get on the internet to log into things. So, it was different back then, back in 2016, as we're looking at that above, right? So moving on, March 29, 2017, Trump signs executive order calling for establishment of the President's Commission on Combating Drug Addiction and the Opioid Crisis. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie selected the chairman of the group with Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, as advisor. July 31st, 2017, after delay, White House panel examining the nation's opioid epidemic releases its interim report asking Trump to declare a national public health emergency combating the opioid crisis. September 22nd, 2017. Pharmacy chain CVS announces that it will implement new restrictions on filling prescriptions for opioids, dispensing a limited 7-day supply to patients who are new to pain therapy, in line and aligned with the CDC pain guidelines. November 1st, 2017, the Opioid Commission releases its final report. Its 56 recommendations include a proposal to establish nationwide drug courts that would place opioid addicts in treatment facilities rather than prison. February 9th, 2018, again, budget agreement signed by Trump authorizes $6 billion opioid programs, $3 billion allocated for 2018, $3 billion for 2019. Moving on down, right? So we get a whole lot of legislation down to this interesting thing here. Okay. White House in 2018 announces a new multi-million-dollar public awareness advertising campaign combating opioid addiction. Moving on, fentanyl, now the most commonly involved drug in overdoses. Now that we moved on to fentanyl, all of a sudden, January 14, 2019, odds of dying from an opioid overdose in the United States greater than dying in a vehicle crash. March 26, 2019, Purdue Pharma agrees to pay $270 million settlement to settle historic lawsuit brought by Oklahoma Attorney General. Settlement used in fund addiction research helps cities and counties with opioid crisis. July 17, 2019. So, looking at perhaps a accurate or non-accurate decline in drug overdoses. But we look here, Oklahoma winning its case against Johnson & Johnson, first major opioid lawsuit to be held in the United States. So why is that important to us, New Mexico? Why is that important to everything? So you start getting into all of this. So now, there is a slew of lawsuits. And out here, November 2nd, 2022, CVS Walgreens paid a combined $10 billion over 10 to 15 years to settle lawsuits brought by states and local governments alleging the retailers mishandled prescriptions of opioid painkillers. Guys, here in the state of New Mexico, right, in our city of Las Cruces, just found out today, we're going to be allotted something like $15 million from this lawsuit. And it's very interesting to see the fact that, okay, now it's a very important situation to, consider that is happening in our community. There's now going to be a little bit more time and dollars that are out to show, hey, how are we going to start to, combat the opioid crisis, the epidemic, so on and so forth, right? Where I stand, I've been a pharmacist since 2018, in pharmacy since 2014. We've been dispensing Narcan and doing those things for the last 9 to 10 years. Well, what you see is this trend continuing to get worse. So is it the Narcan efforts or the fire? Narcan is an opioid fire extinguisher. It's needed. You need to reverse the opioid, overdoses in order to save lives. However, what else are we not doing? Because people are still dying. We're at an all-time high. Narcan's been out for 10 years or more, if not somewhere around there. And we, are we going to wait and see? Are we going to sit on our hands with this? Because there's a lot of resources that are going to be out in our national communities, not even just our local community, from these lawsuits, from these settlements. And it's going to be very important to see what we do to combat it. Talking about this in our Herbal Wellness Corner segment later, we're going to be showing and contributing about how, states with medical cannabis have lower opioid use, just, highlighting how cannabis can help take down overall opioid doses, especially when we're looking at, truly trying to bring that down. And, some of these other things, because our interventions of just, all the most a pharmacist can do really is babysit a prescription monitoring report, make sure you're not filling polypharmacy, and at that point, there's not a whole lot that you can do to really, really help when you look at it like that. And so there's got to be different integrations, cross-pollinations, connections, collaborations between all the different medical communities, Department of Health's, public health communities, and the whole, so on and so forth, to get that done. And I see opportunity and I see promise. Sitting in on a meeting there with the city of Las Cruces today, catching it a little late. I'm very excited to, look at how the city is going to be using and allocating those funds, even in our own community. Hope that we can make some very positive differences as well, for sure. So anyways, we'll get back to opioids in just a bit. Moving on this one, though. Talking about tech talk, guys, it's that season again where we're changing of the seasons, and it's always that time. But on top of that, cold and flu season, getting a little drier very soon. So what are the things, must-haves for the homes? Humidifiers, vaporizers, air purifiers, right? What do people use for cough and cold for these things? So again, I kind of want to go over some of the pharmacist differences with these real quick. And always good to have one on deck at the house. Always good to use it, to know why you need to use them, and to know when to not use them, or, some of the other differences, because it's easy to just get caught at that point when all of a sudden you're just sick looking for anything and you're just going to buy something. So, nice to give some of that time to just be, hey, you want to use a humidifier or vaporizer? Very, very common question, especially to those with young ones. Cool. So both humidifiers and vaporizers add, again, moisture to the air. Increasing the moisture content of the air does help, when it comes to having cold, irritated noses, throats, which cause and lead to coughs, chapped lips, dry skin. Again, so all of these things can be side effects, to colds. If you're taking anticholinergic medications, you may be even that much more adept to dryness. Do you know what an anticholinergic medication does, right? Maybe you don't. And it means, you're basically going to dry up. Your eyes might dry up, your mouth might dry up, your bladder might not want to release as much. Chapped. So to some of that degree, get a little counterbalance on that. And on top of the other dryness and the coldness that could be in the air and could be up and coming soon, very, very worth to check on those shelves and be sure you have what you need. So again, air purifiers, the main thing here, they remove impurities in the air, the whole thing, dust mites, pollen mold, pet dander. So it's a nice air filter for the room, right? It's basically not just that, but it's that. And so it's removing, whatever things in the air that may be allergens, right? Dust from pets, things like that. So again, Not many people have like these solid HVAC systems. So when you look at houses with, again, high allergies that may lead to even more colds and things like that, may be interesting to check around and think, hey, do you have air purifiers in the house? What's that quality of the air? And that's going to be a different purpose than, say, a vaporizer or a humidifier, which are not going to sit there and clean your air. They are going to help you breathe easier by adding more moisture in the air. So again, we are a dry climate, especially as we start getting into the winter months right now, right? We've been hitting some of our humid seasons coming out of July and August. But in these dry climates, it's great to think, okay, want to have that respiratory supplementation with good quality humidified air and more moisture in the air. You do want, again, good moisture. So you don't want dirty moisture. And that's a thing with humidifiers you got to look at, because humidifiers can basically get dirty, and you can add microbes into the air if you don't clean your humidifier often enough or properly enough. But humidifiers are preferred for houses with children by the Americans with Pediatrics. They are recommended, over vaporizers. Vaporizers have more chance of causing electric shock. And that's basically the difference between those cases. But no, the other thing is vaporizers. So because vaporizers boil the water, it's really, really, really good for, allergens. And that's where, people will choose the vaporizer over the humidifier. But again, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends using a cool mist humidifier, but cleaning them properly, because if humidifiers are not cleaned properly and regularly, you will literally just be breathing contaminants and possibly making your situation worse with whatever is growing inside of that humidifier. So again, vaporizers are the better option for people with indoor allergens, because the water vapor that they create has fewer contaminants than a humidifier. So no matter what, it's boiled out, completely steam vaped. Price points can be relatively the same for vaporizers and humidifiers. Other thing is, though, air purifiers are probably going to cost a little more money. And I'm sorry, it just might. If you want to have it all, sometimes during that high pollen count, high time of the year, cold and flu season, winter season, may be worth thinking about. Cool, so moving on, Enlightenment Hour, guys. Want to talk about science of tea a little bit. Check this out. So, little spotlight here. I'm going to show you guys science of tea. I'm going to share my screen right above. And it's just an interesting little resource here from Harvard. So looking, again, tea being a source of, and let me fix the screen. Sorry, everybody. Caffeine, right? Polyphenols, flavonols, theaflavins, catechins. So, what are these and why do they make it a healthy thing? So look at all these. It's just basically, right, antioxidants. And where you look, time goes back into research of tea being a very beneficial drink, and not that cardiovascular, not that coffee is that much worse, but probably if you look at the overwhelming evidence, you're going to see things like green tea being, the number one, again, tea for other polyphenols, which again, antioxidants help control the damaging effects of free radicals in the body, altering DNA by stealing its electrons, and this mutated DNA can increase, again, LDL cholesterol, alter cell membrane traffic, both harmful to our health, looking at inflammatory processes, things in those natures. So where you look at, hey, are you drinking it? Are you including it in your diet for every soda that you have, for every glass of wine or whiskey you may have? Maybe interesting enough to consider herbal teas, tossing those in there from time to time, getting a rich, fresh blend of antioxidants. And, should I use my tea with creamer and things like that? Some research says, fat and milk may reduce the antioxidant capacity of tea. But, right, we don't even have the entire lot of data on everything there. But we do know Japan is the place to be. So looking at a couple tea common things I wanted to show you here. Western coffee houses commonly refer to chai as more accurately called as masala chai or spice tea. Chai is simply the Hindu word for tea. Recipe for this beverage varied widely across time and place. So very different. Hindu and just means tea. And another tea reference it wants to talk about yerba mate. Especially you see it a lot out here, even in our non-traditional Mexican isles and things like that. It's a popular herbal tea from South America made from dried leaves of the Ilex paraguensis tree, shares traits with coffee. Both contain antioxidant, polyphenol, chlorogenic acid, and similar amounts of caffeine. So, again, there's been a concern that certain processing methods of mate, such as drying the leaves with smoke, may introduce polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. The carcinogenic substances also found in grilled smoke or smoked meats. Some research links drinking large amounts of mate over time increase risk of certain cancers, but it's not clear. Again, so mate fans, drink moderate temperatures and find brands that air dry it if you possibly can, right? I would really, really say you're looking for green tea. What you're looking for here, traditional teas, black, white, green, yellow. But again, the most polyphenols and the most flavonoids are going to be observed in green tea, guys. And where we're looking at studies of here, 2 to 3 cups a day associated with reduced risk of premature death, heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, worth keeping in mind for all you people that don't think about TL too often. Always worth keeping in mind. So I'm going to move on, guys. Very, very good Enlightenment hour. Going to continue to plug this thing along. Hope everybody's had a fun Monday, 9/11, guys. I don't know if everybody remembers where they were on September 11th. I know we have a lot of our people that are in our country now that were not even born. I'm 30 years old. And September 11th, 2001, I was in 3rd grade. So, yeah, it's been a while. And for some, I know it still feels like yesterday, and that's kind of a true moment of silence and a nod to everything our country has went through, on that day and since, and all the affected ones. It's insane how fast time goes. That's my number one point from that. And prayers up. God bless America. God bless the USA for sure. Absolutely. So, guys, jumping in, Herbal Wellness Corner, and where we were talking a little bit earlier, again, talking about opioids and harm reduction stuff currently. I think it's very, very important to consider where cannabis is. So look at this right here. Okay, perfect. I'm going to share this right now. There it goes. And this is some information, again, from, it's a presentation from Dr. Sulak from Integrate. It's his place, but this was a presentation from a long time ago that I saved, and I think it's very important. So what do we currently have when you're looking at opioid addiction, guys? You have buprenorphine, you have methadone. You have to go to clinics to get the methadone. The buprenorphine and naloxone or Suboxone, whether they're films, tablets, sublingual, right? That's what you have currently out there. And a little bit about them that's interestingly enough, buprenorphine, aka Suboxone, only high dose greater than 16 milligrams was more effective than placebo in suppressing illicit opioid use. 3 studies. Low dose and medium dose did not solicit opioid use better than placebo. And things with buprenorphine or Suboxone, easily slipped into things like jails and can be abused. Methadone is superior to buprenorphine in retaining people in treatment, and methadone equally suppresses illicit opioid use. But again, guys, cannabis, where does that fall? Better safety profile than methadone or Suboxone, lower risk of dependence than any other psychoactive substance, low risk for abuse and diversion. Standardized oral preparations are even safer, aka edibles, safer than smoking it, of course. 30,000 patients with nabiximols showed no evidence of abuse or diversion. Again, Dr. Russo is a big-time cannabis doctor, been on all types of studies. Most people who stop using cannabis do so without formal treatment. Again, states with medical cannabis laws, guys, had a 24.8% lower mean annual opioid overdose mortality rate compared with states without medical cannabis laws. And so we have those medical cannabis laws. Where can we use medical cannabis to help the 2? There's only 2 verified medicines, right now approved, whether they're different dosage forms or not, for opioid use, guys. Buprenorphine and methadone. Why not add a third? Why not? Right? Especially one with a better safety profile. Medical cannabis laws had a 23% less hospitalization related to opioid abuse and 13% less hospitalizations related to opioid pain reliever overdose. And you're looking at that, I'm going to just bring this right down here for how to do it. A small oral mucosal dose of cannabis with every dose of opioids as little as 1 milligram of THC below psychoactive threshold. Even at low doses that do not cause impairment or adverse effects, cannabis can enhance the effects of opioid medication using the lowest dose of cannabis to avoid building tolerance. Use inhaled cannabis for breakthrough symptoms, severe pain, flashbacks, panic attacks, withdrawal symptoms, and to reduce cravings. Use cannabis to enhance essential health-promoting non-pharmacological activities such as savoring, exercise, meditation and prayer, journaling or reflecting, cognitive and behavioral therapies. Use cannabis to promote regular sleep patterns, sedating strains only in the evening, oral delivery preferred. Select combination CBD plus THC if available to enhance benefits and decrease side effects. Again, 1-to-1, broadly effective and well tolerated. Uno to uno, mano y mano, baby. We make those, do them splendidly. Many prefer CBD in the day and THC dominant at night, but this, highly individual. Cannabis naive patients encouraged to take advantage of a 2-week window of opportunity after starting cannabis. Most patients in this reduced opioid dose by 50 to 80%, guys. Now you're talking about people looking into this, this being a true situation. It's there. We just need to continue to push it, continue to educate, to continue to promote and advocate. 100%. Now, moving on. Community Spotlight. Buck Cancer Gala. Who's going? Who's got their tickets? Boom. Link right there. Tickets. Cha-ching. Get those tickets. It's going to be a nice, interactive 1920s style dinner play. It's going to be a gala. Al Capone. Who done it? Who's going to take him down? How's that going to go down? And on top of that, of course, we're going to be talking about our Buck Cancer case study. I created a clinical trial app, guys, that we are, launching out this case study by October 1st, where we're going to be doing full spectrum oil cannabis extracted by Botanics Extracts for a penny for cancer patients here in the state of New Mexico. It's going to be breathtaking and very, very interesting. I'm very, humbled and honored to be able to put the case study on, to be a part of the gala, everything that's going on with that. So just want to make sure that everybody gets their chance, gets their tickets. And, we've got until October 1st. We're still looking for people that do have cancer to be a part of our case study. If you guys know anybody with cancer, or if you yourself have cancer and want to be a part of something bigger than yourself, that may make a difference for you and could definitely make a difference for someone else in the future, get signed up with us at the trichomealliance.org, please. All right, last things, guys. Men's Health Minute, looking a little bit more into prostate health today. So I know prostates continue to be on the line, right, as far as, hey, what's going on? So I really, really, really like the University of North Carolina Men's Health Prostate Cancer Information Resource. I'm just going to click around and share this with you guys because, again, I think I really would like men to continue to stay informed, educate themselves, women as well, about prostate cancer and what, this actually is and what men can get tested for it. Have you been tested for it? Have you thought about it? So on and so forth. Sharing this right above, clicking right through. Might as well. Got all this room on the screen. Bada boom, bada bing. Fix that. Gala tickets, taking them off. Sorry. Again. There we go. So, prostate cancer. Shout out to the University of North Carolina Tar Heels Men's Health Program. I actually really like it. I like all of the research and the coordination that they have here. Very good. So again, prostate cancer, malignant tumor, typically form in the outer part of the prostate. Most men, prostate cancer grows very slowly, and many men will never know they had it. Moreover, early prostate cancer is limited to the prostate gland itself, and most patients with this type of cancer can live 4 years with no symptoms. That said, prostate cancer is the most common cancer found in men, the second leading cause of cancer death in the United States among men. 80% of men who reach the age of 80 will have it. More than 180,000 men will be diagnosed this year. More than 40,000 men will die from the disease this year. More common in African American men. So, should you get screened? 40s and 50s, you get the message. Get screened. It may save your life. In recent years, it's gotten more complicated. That's because there's a debate among medical professionals about whether the benefits of screening outweighs the harms. Looking at it. Okay, guys, reason to do it. Believe screening is beneficial because you can detect prostate cancer before it becomes symptomatic and causes problems. Who treats men with prostate cancer at UNC Rex Cancer Care? Might be my professional opinion, and my view is biased based on the fact I see a lot of younger men with aggressive, life-threatening cancers. Some prostate cancers are what we call indolent or slow-growing, and these may never cause the patient to have any noticeable symptoms or need treatments. But you would never know unless you get tested. So again, looking at all that, what's the takeaway? Ask your doctor if you should get screened. But guys, especially over 40, if you haven't been screened for prostate cancer yet, got to think about getting that done. Ladies, think about making sure your men get all that done, taken care of. Advocating for all of that today. Very, very good. And Other than that, it's a nice, happy Monday. I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of their day, and we will see you all tomorrow